It was a little past 6 this morning when I carried my coffee out the back door, and the dew was still heavy enough to darken the toes of my shoes. From the steps, the lawn looked wonderful. It always does at that hour. But I walked out past the old oak, and there it was again. That pale, curved patch, shaped a little like a crescent moon, sitting in the same place it has shown up every July for as long as I have lived in this house. And for a good many of those summers I did what almost all of us do. I turned the water on longer. My friends, I have poured more water into that one patch of ground than I care to admit out loud, and not one drop of it ever turned that grass green. So today, I want to walk you through 3 things I would do before spending another dollar trying to green up a summer lawn. The first one helps water actually get where it is supposed to go, and it starts with a bottle you can buy for a few dollars anywhere in America. The second one feeds the lawn, and that is where I am going to tell you something that surprises people. The third one can change the color of your grass faster than anything else you can put in a sprayer. But here is my gentle warning, and I mean it kindly. Every one of those 3 can help a lawn, and every one of those 3, used at the wrong moment in the wrong yard, can leave a stressed lawn worse off than when you started. The third one is the one I see misused most, and I am saving it for later, because once you understand what it is really doing, you will never look at a green lawn quite the same way again. Before we open a single bottle, I want to give you 3 tests. They cost nothing, they take about 10 minutes, and between them you will know more about your lawn than most folks learn in a decade of guessing. The first one is my favorite, because you already own the tool. Go get a long screwdriver out of the drawer. The morning after you water, walk out to the spot that worries you, and push it straight down into the ground. If it slides in 6 inches like you are pushing it into a pound cake, your water is getting down there. Good. If it goes in 1.5 inches and stops like it hit a countertop, my friends, your water is not reaching the roots. Do it in the good part of the lawn too, for comparison. No soil test, no lab, not a nickel spent. The second test humbles more homeowners than any other. Save 4 or 5 empty cans. Tuna cans, cat food cans, anything short and straight-sided. Set them out around the area your sprinkler covers. Some close to the head, some out at the edge, one right in that bad patch. Then run the sprinkler the way you always do, and go have your coffee. When you come back, the story is almost always the same. One can is nearly full. One out at the edge has barely wet the bottom. And 9 times out of 10, the can with the least water in it is sitting in the middle of the patch they have been fighting for years. That was never a soil problem, that was water that never arrived. I cannot tell you how many folks spend a whole summer treating a spot that needed the sprinkler head turned 3 inches to the left. Now the third test, where the real curiosity starts. Take a spoon out to the dry patch when the ground is good and dry, lift out a little plug of soil 1 inch or 2 deep, and set it on the walk. Then let a few drops of water fall on top of it. If those drops sink in and disappear, your soil is thirsty and willing. But if they sit up there, beaded and round like water on a waxed hood, just staring back at you, then you have found something worth knowing. That soil is not merely dry. That soil is repelling water. And that is a different animal altogether. So let's talk about the first of our 3 steps, and this is the one you have probably already heard about, because it has been passed around back fences and comment sections for years. Baby shampoo. A few ounces of plain, mild baby shampoo, run through one of those little sprayers that screws onto the end of a garden hose and sprayed out over the lawn. Some of you tried it and got nothing at all. Here is the truth, my friends. There is a real idea underneath that shampoo bottle. But almost nobody explains the one detail that decides whether it works in your yard or does nothing at all. Let me tell you what is happening down in that soil, without a single big word. When leaves and roots and old grass break down in the ground, year after year, they leave behind waxy, oily little residues. The fine threads of fungus living down there leave them too. Those residues coat the outside of the soil particles, like the thinnest layer of candle wax you can imagine. And here is the thing about wax. It does not want water. Think about an old wool coat, the good kind your father wore. Stand out in a light rain in it, and the water beads up and rolls off the shoulders. That coat is not packed tight. Rain simply cannot get a grip on it because of the oil in the wool. Your soil can do the very same thing. And when it does, you can water that patch for 40 minutes, and most of it will bead up, slide sideways, and run off down the driveway, while the roots 2 inches down stay dust dry. So what does shampoo have to do with any of that? Soap breaks the skin on water. That is really all it does. That tension lets go, and the water slips into places it could not get before. So on water-repellent soil, a mild soapy spray followed by a good watering gives that water a way to sneak past the wax. In a truly repellent spot, that can make a real difference in a matter of days. But here is the detail I promised you, and it changes everything. The soap does not remove the wax. It never touches it. It only helps water slip around it for a little while, which means the soap step is temporary, and it is only worth doing if water repellency is actually your problem. That is why I gave you those tests first. If the drops beat it up on that soil plug, this step is for you. If they soaked right in, put the shampoo back under the sink and save your afternoon. And now let me clear up the biggest mix-up in this whole subject. Water-repellent soil and compacted soil are two different problems with two different answers. Compacted soil is squeezed. The little air spaces between soil particles have been pressed shut by feet, by mowers, by the dog's favorite running route. There is no room left for water to travel. Water-repellent soil is not squeezed at all. It has plenty of room. It is simply coated, and water will not stick to it. And here is how you tell them apart with that screwdriver. Water the spot well, wait an hour, and push. If the ground is wet on top but the screwdriver still hits a wall an inch down, that is compaction. And I will be plain with you. No amount of shampoo fixes compaction. Not 4 ounces, not 8, not the whole bottle. Soap cannot make room where there is no room. So what do you do about compaction? You open the ground up, and you do it in the right season, not in a heat wave. Up north, that means pulling little cores out in early fall, when the grass can heal itself. Down south with Bermuda or zoysia, late spring into early summer. And until then, a free trick worth its weight in gold. Run the sprinkler 10 minutes, shut it off half an hour, then run 10 more. Water, rest, water. That pause alone puts far more water into tight ground than one long soaking ever will. Now, if you decide the soap step is right for your yard, let me tell you how to do it kindly. Use plain, mild baby shampoo. Not the heavy-duty degreasing dish soap from beside the kitchen sink. Degreasers are built to strip grease, and grass blades have a waxy coat of their own that keeps them from drying out. You do not want to strip that off a lawn already suffering in July heat. Go light. Lighter than you think. Early morning or the cool of evening, never the middle of a hot afternoon. And this next part is the part people skip, and it is the whole ball game. Water it in, right away. A good 1/4 inch of plain water, which on most sprinklers is 15 or 20 minutes, and you can measure that now because you have those tuna cans. The soap has no business sitting on the leaves in the sun. Its work is down in the dirt, so wash it down where the work is. All right, step 2. We have gotten water down to the roots. Now let's open one of those feeding bottles and look at what is really inside. You have seen them, the big jugs of liquid lawn food promising the deepest green on the block. Turn the label around and there is quite a list. Nitrogen, potassium, iron, sulfur, then sea kelp, and humic acid, and fulvic acid, and a few things you have never heard of. So let me translate it the way I wish somebody had done for me 40 years ago. Nitrogen is the food. It is what makes grass grow, push out new blades, thicken up, and turn a rich green. When a lawn looks hungry and pale and tired, nitrogen is usually what it is asking for. Potassium is not food. Potassium is toughness, the part that helps a plant handle heat and drought. Think of it less like dinner and more like a good pair of boots. Iron is color, and only color, and we will spend real time on iron in a few minutes, because it is the most misunderstood thing in this whole conversation. Then those extras. The kelp, the humic acid. I will not stand here and tell you they do nothing, because there are researchers who have found some benefit from them under stress, and I respect that work. But I will say this plainly. When a lawn goes noticeably greener in a week after one of those bottles, the kelp is not the reason. The nitrogen and the iron are the reason. Everything else on that label is a supporting player. And that brings me to the thing I most want you to hear today, because this one idea would have saved me a lot of grief. Feeding a lawn in the middle of July can be exactly the right thing to do in one half of this country, and a real mistake in the other half. Same month, same bottle. Opposite outcomes. It comes down to what kind of grass is under your feet. If you are in the warmer part of the country, growing Bermuda, or Zoysia, or St. Augustine, or Centipede, July is your grass's favorite month of the year. That grass loves heat. It is growing hard, using nutrients fast, and a measured summer feeding is how those lawns get thick and beautiful. For you, feeding now makes good sense. But if you are up north or through the middle of the country, growing Kentucky bluegrass, or tall fescue, or ryegrass, your grass is a different creature. Those grasses do their real living in spring and fall. In the deep heat of summer, they are not growing. They are enduring. And when we push a hungry dose of nitrogen into a plant already struggling to hold on, we are not helping it. We are asking a tired man to run uphill. That is when disease shows up. That is when a lawn that was merely thin becomes a lawn with dead patches. For a cool season lawn in July, the kindest thing you can often do is very little. Water it well, mow it high, let it rest. Save the feeding for September, when that grass wakes up and can actually use it. So, how do you know whether your lawn actually wants food right now? Stop reading the calendar, my friends, and start reading the grass. 3 questions. First, are you still mowing? If it is growing fast enough that you cut it every week, it is not starving. Second, where is the yellow? If the older, lower leaves go pale first, and the whole lawn looks thin and tired, that is hunger. But if the color is patchy, worst where the sprinkler barely reaches, that is not hunger. That is thirst wearing a costume. Third, if you are up north, part the grass with your fingers and look right where the blades come out of the ground. If there is firm green life down in that crown, your lawn is resting, not dying, and it will come back for you in the fall. And here is the part no fertilizer label will ever tell you. Your lawn may not need more fertilizer at all. It may need water that arrives where the roots are, a mower set higher, and to be left alone for 6 weeks. If you do feed in summer, go light, half of what you think. In the cool of the day, watered in after. And do not forget the cheapest feeding on earth, which is leaving your clippings on the lawn instead of bagging them. They are mostly water and nitrogen, and they walk it right back into the soil, free, every week. And if you are one of the folks who cannot manage a sprayer anymore, and I know a great many of you cannot, please hear me. You have not lost this game. Nearly everything that matters most in this video needs nothing but a mower, a hose, and a screwdriver. Now, step 3, the one I have been holding back. This is the one that produces that fast, deep, almost startling green that makes a neighbor slow the car as he drives past. Liquid iron. Here is the best single piece of lawn knowledge I have picked up in 50 years, in one sentence. Nitrogen makes grass grow. Iron can deepen the green without forcing that same growth. Iron is part of how a plant builds the green in its leaves. Put a little on the leaf and it can darken up in a day or two. But iron is not food. It does not push out a flush of new growth, which is exactly why iron is such a friend in summer, especially for you northern folks. You get color without asking a heat-stressed plant to do extra work. And here is why some folks get beautiful results while others get nothing. Iron poured onto soil changes form quickly and becomes something roots cannot take up, especially in ground that leans chalky. The leaf is the open door. That is why iron for color goes on as a fine spray over the blades, and why you leave it sitting there instead of washing it in. It is the opposite of what we did with the shampoo, and the reason is simple. The soap's work is in the dirt. The iron's work is on the leaf. And now the hardest sentence in this whole video, and I say it as a friend. A lawn that looks greener is not the same as a lawn that is getting healthier. Iron changes color. It does not build a single new root. It does not thicken thin turf, repair compacted ground, or fix a sprinkler that misses the corner. What iron buys you is a beautiful color, while the real work goes on underneath. And there is nothing wrong with that, as long as you know which one you bought. The trouble starts when a man sees a dark green lawn, decides his problems are solved, and quits doing the things that were actually going to save it. Color is the report card. It is not the studying. Now, follow the rate on the bottle you actually bought, and do not improvise. Iron products vary a great deal in strength, and the number on your label is the only number that applies to your yard. And I will say it plainly, do not double the dose to chase a darker green. Too much iron in hot weather can scorch the tips, and some southern grasses will go dark and unhappy on you in a hurry. More is not better here. Spray evenly, in slow overlapping passes, or you will get dark stripes where you doubled back. Morning or evening, not high noon. And keep it off your concrete. Off the sidewalk, off the pavers, off your white shoes. Iron stains, and it stains for keeps, and there is no conversation in a long marriage quite like the one that follows rust-colored spots turning up on the front walk. One more thing about safety. One tank, one job. It is tempting to put 2 or 3 products in a sprayer to save a trip. Please do not. Every product has its own label, its own timing, its own cautions, and those labels are not suggestions. Now here is what to watch for over the next several days. Leave a strip unsprayed along a bed edge, or lay a board out in the open lawn before you spray and pick it up after. Then compare in 3 or 4 days. Our eyes are terrible witnesses, my friends. They see what we hope for. That untreated strip does not. You will likely see color first and see it fast. That is the iron doing its job. But keep watching 3 or 4 weeks, because that color fades. It always fades. Iron on the leaf is a visitor, not a resident. And the lawn that still looks good in September will not be the one that got the most iron. It will be the one whose roots got water all summer long. Which brings me to the part of this whole system that costs nothing, and that almost everybody skips. There are 3 things in your garage that can quietly erase every bit of the work we just did. The first is mowing height. If you are cutting a cool season lawn short in July because it looks tidy, you are taking away the very shade that keeps the crown of the plant cool. Raise the deck. 3 inches or better through the heat. Taller grass shades its own roots, holds moisture longer, and crowds out weeds while it is at it. And never take off more than about 1/3 of the blade in one pass. If it got away from you, cut it twice over a few days rather than scalping it once. The second is your mower blade, and this is my favorite secret in the whole video, because hardly anybody talks about it. A dull blade does not cut grass. It tears it, and a torn tip frays, dries out, and turns straw-colored within a day or 2. Now multiply that by every blade of grass in your yard. From the porch, a perfectly healthy lawn cut with a dull blade looks gray and washed out, and folks will spend $100 on iron chasing a color problem that a $15 sharpening would have fixed. I learned that one the expensive way. The third is your watering habit. Deep and seldom beats shallow and often, every time. One good soaking a week that reaches 4 to 6 inches down grows roots that can survive August. 15 minutes every evening grows a shallow, needy lawn that panics the first hot week. And water before dawn if you can. The blades dry as the sun comes up, and that alone keeps a great deal of summer disease away. So let me leave you with the whole thing in a few words, because I do not want you carrying a list around in your head. Summer green is not a product, my friends. It is water reaching the root zone. It is feeding only when the grass is actually asking to be fed. It is iron when the color needs a hand, and only for as long as that lasts. And it is mowing in a way that protects the plant instead of tidying it to death. Those 4 working together will do more for you than any bottle on any shelf ever will. My mother kept an empty tuna can on the back step for close to 30 years, and my father teased her about it every summer of his life. She would set it out in the yard, turn the water on, and go finish the dishes, and when that can was full, she went and shut it off. No timer, no gadget. She knew what her garden needed, and she measured it with something she already had. Some of the best gardening knowledge in this country is kept in kitchen drawers and on back steps by people who never wrote a word of it down. So tell me, what part of the country are you in, and what is your lawn doing this month? Racing along or laying low? I read these comments, and I love knowing who is out there. And tell me this too. Was there a jar, or a can, or a coffee tin, or some strange little tool in your mother's or your grandmother's garden that nobody outside the family ever understood the importance of? I would love to hear about it. Those are the stories worth keeping. Go easy on yourself out there this summer, and go easy on your lawn. It is trying as hard as you are.